Hello everyone. I'm going to try to make another sermon video this today. I wanted to um, do another series. I'm going to do it on charity. There's different parts of charity, and so I'm going to be in 1 Corinthians 13, 1 through probably 4 right now, and it says, "Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels and have not charity, I am become as sounding brass or tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have faith so that I can remove mountains, and have not charity, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, and have not charity, it profiteth me nothing. Charity suffereth long and is kind. Charity envieth not, charity vaunteth not, itself is not puffed up," and it goes on. But the part I want to start with today on this part of the series is charity suffereth long and is kind. That's a two-part thing there. It's not only suffers long, but it's kind before, during, and after it. Suffers long, that means it's a patient endurance under provocation. Have you ever been provoked? We're supposed to be provoked unto love. But sometimes people will deal with you and it won't be in love, and that's when you need charity. You need patient endurance under provocation. The literal meaning of the word is long-tempered. The characteristic of love reveals the truth that it does not retaliate. It doesn't keep a record. Every time somebody offends you, say, well, okay, there you go, you did that. It doesn't do that. Stephen is an example of this type of love in Acts 7:54 through 60. But the greatest example is Jesus. This kind of love endures all attacks. One of Abraham Lincoln's most outspoken political enemies and critics was a man named Edwin J. Stanton. Stanton called Lincoln a low, cunning clown and an original gorilla. He even said this: "It's ridiculous for people to go to Africa and see a gorilla when they can find one easily in Springfield, Illinois." To Lincoln's credit, he never responded to their insults. If you respond to critics and insults, you give them a platform. But if you'll ignore them, they won't have a platform to launch from, and they'll be silenced. Uh, When he was elected president, Lincoln chose Stanton to be his Secretary of War. When asked why, Lincoln said, "Because he's the best man." Later, when Lincoln had been assassinated, Stanton stood by the coffin which held Lincoln's body and said through his tears, "There lies the greatest ruler of men the world has ever seen. Patient love and action won this man over." It's kind. That word refers to active goodness that goes forth on behalf of others. Genuine love, genuine love is never hateful or mean, but respects others and reaches out to them. Then the supreme example of love is God, because God is love. He is kind to people despite their treatment of Him. So, suffereth long and is kind. I heard a preacher use the example one time, and he said if you had somebody come to your house and knocked on the door and came in and he just started railing on you, and maybe it was 9 o'clock at night when he came, and you endured it till midnight, but then you've had enough and you rail back. You didn't suffer long enough. Suffereth long and is kind. I've told the story before. Brother Tom Curley, I heard that he always smiled. He had a smile. Loved Brother Tom, and said this brother, or a man, he didn't have the salvation, I don't think, but he went over it Brother Tom's and knocked on the door. He thought to himself, "I wonder what he'll do at 2 o'clock in the morning." Said, "I'll just wipe that smile off his face," or something like that. And at 2 o'clock in the morning, he came to the door smiling. So, suffereth long in this kind. Anger is not any good. It said, be not hasty in thy spirit to be angry, for anger resteth in the bosom of fools. That's Ecclesiastes 7:9. I thought about my mother. I used the example of Brother Tom Curley. My mother was so kind. I've told you about it, different videos. I believe I could do the same thing that they did to Brother Tom Curley. I believe I could go knock on my mother's door. She's not here anymore. She died, but I believe when she was living, I could have went to her door, knocked on her door. She lived in a bad neighborhood, to boot, and if I knocked on her door at 2 o'clock in the morning, she wouldn't fuss at me, yell at me, like you have scared me to death, Dale. She would have said, baby, come on in here. We're going to fix some coffee, and we're going to talk about this, and we're going to make it better, or something to that effect. Children never forget the kindness of adults. We got a brother at our church, and he's like the Pied Piper. He's got candy in his hands, got a pocket full of candy, and he'll reach it out. He might have a butterscotch and a peppermint, different varieties, and he'll reach them out to these kids and let them pick what they want. They won't forget him. No. We had a sister that died, and Sister Idell Childers, and she was always sending cards, and she'd give you a $2 bill on your birthday or whatever. You don't forget people like that. No, you don't. And but suffers long and is kind. I want to do that. It is not easy. It is not easy. And today, I'm starting out. I believe it's going to be a series. I'm going to try that and try to go over the different components of charity and see if we can understand it any better. I love doing these series. I like doing them when they're not a series, but the series, so you can stay tuned. And if you got anything out there that you want to contribute and tell me, a quote, an example, or whatever, some experience in your life, I'd love to hear about them. I'll give you my phone number. You can call and tell me, or leave me a message about it, or text me about it, or whatever way you want to get to me. I believe in sharing. I really do. I've mentioned that on other videos. If you've got something you can help me, I've been helped by children, and so anybody can help anybody if they just would do that. And I know people's probably said to me things that they didn't think would help me at all, and they really, really helped me. I love to help other people. I don't think that when he gives you something, it's to be put in a box. It's to be shared. And so I love people, and I love the children of God, and I'd love to help them. Suffers long in this kind. I thought about Paul on the way to Damascus, and he was struck down, and what God said to him, it wasn't like, I'm going to make you a great apostle, the greatest, write more the New Testament than any of the others combined. He didn't tell him all that glorious stuff. He said, I'm going to show you something like this. I'm going to show you what you must suffer. So suffering is in there. And one more time, I'm going to tell you the story. I was driving a special needs bus. This particular morning, it was probably, seemed like 10 degrees. The bus is a cold place. They don't have sufficient heat. This one didn't. And I was worried about those children. And I was riding along, and we passed a little pond that was in that neighborhood. And there were ducks sitting out there on it at that temperature. And I'm thinking, they looked like they just loved it. They was just like they were doing backstroke. And I was thinking to myself, you're not supposed to think this way, I guess, but I was thinking, you dumb ducks, don't you know how cold it is? But then I got to thinking, they are ducks, and they're built for it. My son-in-law saw a duck that somebody had cut into, and there was layers and layers and layers of fat. So that's why they could do that, is because there was something between them and the water that insulated or whatever. And that's the way we are with charity. We're insulated. There's layers and layers between us and the enemy. So I hope some of this has helped you. Please stay with me. Tune in, and I'll be doing this series on charity. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you need. My number is 256-508-4410. If I can't get back to you right then, I will when I can. So may God bless you is my prayer.